Hopefully we won't be Zoom bombed like we were last week.
Bhante, are you having a retreat or something around early July, 4th of July?
I haven't planned it. We're having a long one in June,
Yeah,
so maybe not in July.
because I was thinking of trying to be there for the first few days of July, maybe.
You can come, you can come and, stay.
I will check with you.
You
Uh,
we have a 4th of July bonfire probably.
oh,
Okay, friends, so let's go ahead and begin with reciting the Namo Tassa and the three refuges for those who like to join. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Dutiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. So welcome, friends, to this Wednesday evening Dhamma discussion and meditation practice. And I think all of you know probably that tomorrow is the full moon day in May, and that is called Vesak Day or Visakha Puja. In India they call it, but Vesak Day, which is the most important sort of holiday for Buddhists. And the Vesak Day is a remembrance and a celebration of the three auspicious events in the life of the Buddha, or Siddhartha Gautama. So it was on the full moon day in May, according to the history, at least the Theravada history. 2,500 and almost 2,600 years ago. He was born on a full moon day in May. And it is said that 45 years later, or 35 years later, he was attained enlightenment in the Buddhagaya. And he passed away at the ripe old age of 80, or attained parinibbana. And normally we don't say that the Buddha died, but he attained parinibbana, and there's a certain meaning of that that I'll try to explain. So these three events are all said to have happened on a full moon day in May. But as many of you might have known if you studied other Buddhist traditions, like in Japanese Buddhism or Chinese Buddhism or Tibetan Buddhism, they sometimes celebrate, or the Buddha's, at least the enlightenment, the day he was enlightened, on different day, sometimes in December. But in the Theravada tradition, they settled on honoring these three events of the Buddha's life on the same day, kind of just to keep it simple, so you don't have to remember too many things. Now, I want to just, many of you already know about these three auspicious events, but I just want to kind of review them briefly and give some reflections on those and how we may relate to that or see that, in our own life. So it is said that the Siddhartha Gautama, before he was born, he was, of course, he had been a bodhisattva according to the tradition. For over 500 lifetimes, he was working on purifying and developing the 10 paramitas and purifying the mind of greed, hatred, and delusion. Over 500 different lifetimes that are recorded in the Jataka stories. But the last life before taking birth as a human being, he was born in the Tusita heaven and was waiting there, so it says, kind of like for the right time to come down to earth and spread the Dhamma. Now it is said that the Buddha comes into the world when there's a period of spiritual darkness, where there's lots of wrong views and the real truth has been kind of lost. So the Buddha said, and he sort of planned that, and he took birth in Lumbini, or he was, his parents were a king and a queen. So he was born as a prince and lived in the palace life. But even at the time he was born, the sages, sort of similar to the idea of the three wise men in Christianity, there was three of these ascetic sages that supposedly had psychic power and could kind of predict the future or read people's minds. And so the king took the baby to these three sages, and they gave their predictions. And one was, to be either a king or a wheel-turning monarch, and the other was to become an enlightened being, or at least these two, possibilities. And of course, he was born as to a king. And so the king naturally wanted his son to be, hoping his son would to take that path. But one of them said, no, he'll become a king of Dhamma, and he'll become a Buddha. So that was the prediction. Anyway, I'm not going to go into all the details. You could read that in so many different biographies. But the point is that he came at a time of spiritual darkness, when the true Dhamma had all but disappeared. And during the lifetime of the Buddha, he encountered, there was 25 or more different sects of ascetics. They were teaching all kinds of different, their versions of attaining enlightenment or the way to heaven and so on. But a lot of these practices, involved austerities and depriving the body of any pleasure, any joy, and focused on basically developing formless jhanas, or these jhanic states similar to a hypnotic state where they get their mind into a state of infinite consciousness, infinite space. And they thought that was God, or that was the infinite. But the Buddha saw that these teachers were still, he didn't believe that was the real truth. So he went on to wander by himself. But so the idea that he wasn't satisfied with any of the existing teachings he came across as being the true path to ultimate liberation from samsara. So he, went off by himself and, over 6 years attained the enlightenment. And the main thing is he gave up the life of a prince. I mean, look at, the news, even in these. Nowadays, there's a king still in England, right? And the king of England and all these heirs are still fighting over, wanting to be the prince and the heirs of the thrones. So there's still this greed, everybody wants to be a king and all the money or a royal, and the money that comes with that. But the Buddha wasn't interested in that. He wanted to really he saw the suffering of the average person. And he struck out and on his own to try to discover the real path, the original path to liberation from our mind, liberation from greed, hatred, and delusion. So he gave up that possibility, renounced the throne, and went on a search for enlightenment. So that's what, in fact, a lot of us have done. A lot of us Westerners who are born in this country, and I use myself as an example because that's the way, that I see what happened to me too. We were born, people born in the 60s and 70s, and the search, the hippies who were wanting to discover, experimenting with new states of mind using drugs and so on. But there was this, this transformation going on. And the rejection of the society, the establishment, right? So boys wanted to grow long hair, for example, and then experimenting with drugs. And then all these swamis and Buddhist monks started coming in the 70s, giving talks about enlightenment and liberation and all these things that we never knew about because Eastern teachings were not available in this country back in the early 70s, for the most part. So anyway, so the Buddha wanted to, rejected that life of luxury, just like, a lot of Western monks, took the path of a monkhood and rejecting, I could have become I started studying computers when Steve Jobs, even before Steve Jobs or Bill Gates came on the scene. And if I would have stayed with it, who knows, I could have, taken that path and become a billionaire, but I didn't. And something inside of me took me to India. But anyway, and so many of others, many of you and so many others, they rejected the established life and the conformity, wanting to be a follow the religion of their parents, and they've come to Dhamma through that way. And they, a lot of them have gave up the possibility of, wanting to become rich or well-known and famous, and just, were inspired by the Dhamma. So, the Buddha provided that example for us of rejecting, that life of, going that seeking out, luxury and riches and so on. So that's a way that we can reflect back on the birth of the Buddha and see our own birth as that desire to seek the path to liberation. And then there's the path itself, the Dhamma. So the teachings of the Buddha, which explain, the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, all the practices of different types of meditation, especially, developing concentration and developing vipassana or insight, the four foundations of mindfulness, developing the five spiritual faculties, and the seven factors of enlightenment. So these are the basic teachings of the Dhamma. And of course, following Sila, so the path of Sila, Samadhi, and Panya, which the Eightfold Path, outlines. We never heard that. I mean, I never heard that before. In 1966, or 67, I took a course in world religions. I never even heard of Buddhism before. But in that class, we had to choose one of the religions to write a paper on, and I chose Buddhism. And I went to the library in my town, Riverside, California, and there was only 4 or 5 books on Buddhism in the whole library, but I had to do some research, and I started reading about, the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, greed, hatred, and delusion, samsara, and self-created suffering, and meditation. I said, wow, where's all this been? I never heard this before. No one taught me that in, high school. I had to take it as a elective class, even in junior college. The politicians didn't teach us Eightfold Path. Even the President of the United States didn't teach us the Eightfold Path. So where's this all been? My God. So it was like a total revolution, hearing these mind changing this path of the Dhamma, and that we can actually do something about our life without having to wait around for a savior or, just to accept the status quo. That's the way it is. And in my study of the Dhamma, it was really seeing that what all the possibilities of the practice of Dhamma, that we can, take our life into our own hands and follow the teachings of the Eightfold Path by gaining right understanding. And that was the importance of the Buddha teaching the Dhamma and establishing the Sangha that's persevered for 2,000, over 2,500 years almost. So that is why, those two events, the birth of the Buddha and then the enlightenment, where the Buddha for 6 long years practiced the meditation and became enlightened. When all that Four Noble Truths become crystal clear in the mind, and his ability to explain it in such a way, and that he spent the rest of his life, 45 years, walking thousands of miles all over India, teaching the Dhamma. And establishing the order of the monastic order that has persevered, has spread, in so many countries around the world, and it has been, of course, recorded in the suttas, and now is accessible on the internet, and all over the, just a touch of the button on the internet, you can find any sutta that you want to, the teachings of, the Buddha's original teachings. And it was because of, his efforts and his his desire to attain enlightenment for the sake of all living beings. And that's why, he's been respected and honored in that way, because we've all benefited from that. And then it comes to the parinibbana. And again, the parinibbana of the Buddha didn't die in an ordinary way, because when an ordinary person dies, they're going to be reborn again, according to, of course, the Buddhist idea of rebirth. You may or may not believe in that, but anyway, parinibbana, the Buddha actually died before he died. That means he died to ignorance, greed, and hatred. And he died, he actually reached the ego death. So there's two different, in Dhamma, there's two different types of death. One is the physical death of the body, which is not much different than just going in a closet, changing your clothes, and coming back out in a new suit of clothes. So people are born, die from this life, and are reborn again in a next life according to the karma. But when a person attains full enlightenment, then they terminate that power of the mind, greed, hatred, and delusion. So the mind attains the deathless state. So the Buddha actually died before he died. That means he died to greed, hatred, and delusion. He died to the ego-dominated mind and experienced that liberation even while he was still living. And so death to a person like that is not really death at all, because and you can't really describe it. There's no way to adequately describe what happens to the Buddha's mind after death. But the Buddha wasn't afraid of death. And nowadays, death is a big fear. Everybody's afraid of dying. They're afraid of aging. And so they're trying to find out, the minute they start aging, they try to hide it, by getting all kind of cosmetic treatments. And then also when they get sick nowadays with DNA, if the parents had some diseases, the younger kids are worried and wanting to get their DNA tested to see if they're going to get Alzheimer's or cancer or any number of other kind of diseases. And people have this fear of aging and death. That's because they don't know what's going to happen after death. And it's true, if we haven't attained full enlightenment, even though we are practitioners of the Dhamma, the mind still will be reborn. But the way you die, the way you live is the way you're going to die. So if you live with greed, hatred, and delusion, and guilt, worry, fear, holding grudges, and all kind of negative states, a lot of craving and desire, then the next life is going to be more of the same for the most part. But by practicing the Dhamma in this life, if you overcome a lot of those defilements and free the mind from especially the negative types of habits that create unwholesome karma, then a person can die with their mind without fear or regret, and die peacefully. And if you can actually maintain mindfulness through the time of death, there's a possibility you can attain liberation even at that last moment of dying, if one dies with full awareness. So anyway, so the parinibbana of the Buddha is the way we can reflect on that is not to fear the death, but see life as a challenge, and not seeing it as blessing and curses, but seeing it as a challenge to work on ourselves and to free the mind from any types of habits and negative thoughts that are going to prevent our mind from being able to, enter into that the deathless realm. And one of the very nice, one of my favorite sayings of the Buddha is the Dhammapada verse, is that, mindfulness is the path to the deathless. Unmindfulness is the path to death. the mindful do not die, and the unmindful are as if dead already. And that means being dead to what real life is. And real life is a state of awareness, really. But most people, they think life is just this body and lost in their ego-dominated mind. But that's a very narrow viewpoint of life from the Dhamma point of view. But anyway, so these three events, the birth of the Buddha, the enlightenment of the Buddha, and the parinibbana of the Buddha, teaching people that they don't have to fear death, and that's the way we should reflect on our own life and see how even in our own life, how each one of you somehow has come to the Dhamma. Most of you are probably not born in a Buddhist family, maybe some of you were, but but the ones that weren't, and got attracted to the Dhamma, and for many of you, I'm sure it's really changed your life, and that was because the Buddha sacrificed so many lifetimes to gain that enlightenment and to so skillfully explain the Dhamma that we can use, in this life. The Dhamma is, doesn't take time to understand, and is inviting you to come and see, and leading onwards to deeper and deeper levels of freedom through the practice of sila, through the practice of developing concentration, and of course developing wisdom. So these are the way that to celebrate the Vesak is to reflect on the teachings of the Buddha, and also to reconfirm or motivate ourselves to if we're kind of backsliding in our practice and so on, to reconfirm our own practice and what the meaning of the birth of the Buddha was. Because a lot of days nowadays, so many people meditate, but a lot of them hardly know anything about the Buddhism, and they say, oh, you don't need to know Buddhism to meditate, you just practice mindfulness, and oh, sure, that can help a lot, but you're going to miss a lot if you don't develop mindfulness the way that the Buddha had taught, in terms of developing the path of sila, samadhi, and panya, and the Noble Eightfold Path, and to be able to reflect on that life, to use the Dhamma. We see so many people out there in the world that are just running around, have no idea of the Dhamma, just living their life, just with, ordinary type of life, oblivious to, any sort of deeper meaning. So to have gratitude that, the whole reason that we've been able to learn Buddhism and practice in this life is because of, the sacrifice that the Buddha made over many lifetimes, and taking birth just for the sole purpose of bringing the Dhamma back to teach to the ordinary, people. And it's lasted all these, 2,500 more than 2,500 years to the present day. And we can see how the Dhamma is spreading around the world, especially with the internet now. You can find any sutta on the internet, you want to, or any topic. Now with AI also, you can, you don't even have to study much. You can just ask a question and you'll get some, nice explanations of the Dhamma. But that's no substitute for the actual practice. So anyway, friends, that's what I wanted to share with you about the meaning of the Vesak. And if you ever have a chance, I was discussing with our friend Michael, who is on this program, that he had just recently come back from a tour to the Buddhist holy places, to where the Buddha was born in Lumbini, Nepal, where he attained enlightenment in Buddha Gaya, and where he passed away in in Kusinara in northern India, those traditional Buddhist holy places, and they're very inspiring to see that, the hundreds and thousands of people that go there every year, traveling from all parts of the world to go and to, remember and recollect and just to imbibe that powerful, vibration and inspiration of seeing all these pilgrims there. So I'd recommend if anybody ever has the chance of going there to do that. I know in myself, I walked to all those holy places back when I was a young monk, and it was really, really inspiring. In those days, there was a lot fewer pilgrims too, and the places were a lot less commercially developed and so on. But anyway, I just wanted to, seeing how tomorrow is the Vesak day, the full moon day of May. Now many temples have already celebrated Vesak, like the Bhavana Society, they celebrated Vesak last Sunday. The Washington Buddhist Vihar in Washington, D.C., they celebrated Vesak on May 5th, and other temples on different weekends. But tomorrow is the actual full moon day, so, I would recommend, maybe getting in an extra period of meditation tomorrow to contemplate, how the teachings of the Buddha have helped one in one's own life and bring that back to him, not just seeing these things as happen to somebody 2,500 years ago, but how the Dhamma and that life is living and breathing, through millions of people, even, in this day and age. Okay, so now if any of you have any questions about any of that, feel free to ask a question if you have any questions about the Vesak. Okay, this question is, do you know what sort of secular historical records we have of the Buddha's life? Well, as I'm a little bit prejudiced, of course, to the Theravada traditions and the Pali Sutras, yes, there are some books published by the Buddhist Publication Society, Life of the Buddha and Lives of the Great Disciples. You can find them on the internet very easily. Just Google in books on Life of the Buddha, but try to get the Pali version rather than some of the Mahayana versions that are quite different. You'll get the recorded life that are mentioned in the suttas, in the Pali suttas. But there's one book called Life of the Buddha by Nyanamoli Thera, which is really a good one. And it's quoted, all the information is taken from the sutras themselves. It's not kind of a fictionalized version of the Buddha's life like you might find in some other places. But so I would recommend that. Okay, I see a yellow hand over here. Yes, go ahead and ask your question, please.
Oh, Bhante, I like to ask, because I'm here in Toronto, so there is like no, is my voice okay? Is it audible?
What?
Is the voice okay? Can you hear me?
You speak a little slowly, more slowly.
Okay. Bhante, I was saying, I'm here in Toronto, so
Toronto, okay.
yes. So there is no Buddhist temple nearby, but then I saw one Facebook post is about the Vesak Day from Theosophy Club. So they celebrated in April last month, full moon. So I'm just wondering, the Vesak Day, the full moon, is it in April or May?
The Vesak Day is usually in May.
May?
There is a Sri Lankan temple, a very good one, in Mississauga, which is outside of Toronto. It's a good temple. I know the monks there, And I'm sure they would have some books there, and they have classes, but I would say that would be a worthwhile place to visit and attend some of their teachings to get the true, Theravada viewpoint. But every month, of course, is a Poya day. So like a Poya day is equivalent to the Sundays for Christians, but it's once a month. But it's not the Vesak. So Vesak is specifically the month of May, at least in the Theravada, in countries like, now in Thailand, you mentioned Wan Pra in April. Well, that was their full moon day. They call it Wan Pra, but it's a full moon day. It's not the Vesak day.
I see.
But, again, different places might have different celebrations about it. Yeah.
Then they were also mentioning on that day, because they are more on Vajrayana, not Theravada. So what they say is Buddhas come down to earth, to the earth. I mean, to the world on the Vesak day. Is it true? If Buddha passed away already, I mean, if he already had this nibbana, does he still come down?
This is where it gets kind of confusing because there are different schools of Buddhism. The Theravada, which is the oldest school using the oldest recorded text, then you get the Chinese Mahayana version that has like Pure Land and so on. And then you have Tibetan Vajrayana,
Yes.
which claims to start by using the sort of Theravada sutras, but then goes on to introduce its more esoteric type of Vajrayana tantric practices. So, they have different ideas about it. So you have to kind of know what you're hearing when you hear different things about what version one's, hearing.
See. But for Theravada, we try to worship more on Gautama Buddha, not on the coming, the Arimidya Buddha. Is that right?
Well, yeah, no, there's a Maitreya Buddha is said to would be next, would be coming again, but the time is not given for that. And a lot of Buddhists in Sri Lanka, even they make a determination. They do pujas and hoping that they'll be reborn with Maitreya Buddha in the future. But that's not. I wouldn't cross their fingers about that. And but the Gautama Buddha, yes, in Theravada tradition, the Siddhartha Gautama attained parinibbana. That means that particular Buddha is not coming back to the earth, and it's the Dhamma that the Buddha wanted us to practice. People get too dependent on gurus and all these things, and they're hoping they're visiting this guru and that guru and trying to find the most enlightened one, and then they get hung up on guru worship, and that has a lot of problems on its own. The Buddha didn't want that to happen, and that's why he attained parinibbana. He could have lived longer, it is said. He could have extended his life many hundreds, perhaps more years, but he didn't want the people to be so dependent on him. He said, look, I've established the fourfold Sangha, the monks, novices, lay people, men and women, lay people, monks and novices, and many people are enlightened. So many monks and lay people attain stages of the 4 stages of enlightenment, and let the Dhamma be your island, So the Buddha didn't want him to be developed in some kind of a cult. And in my point of view, the Buddha was like a scientist, and he found the cure for suffering, which he outlined in the Four Noble Truths. And it's the practice of meditation certainly has some aspects of scientific discovery to it. We can focus our attention like looking down through a microscope. As you gain concentration and attain the stage of jhana, it's like turning up the power of a microscope from 5 or 10 to 500 of 1,000, and to really see the molecular, atomic, and molecular structure of our mind and body, and to see the process of impermanence and conditioning. And so, it's very much like that, and we can understand how we've created our own problems through wrong views, wrong understanding, and we can learn how to undo all those problems using the path of the Buddha.
Oh, thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, is there another person? Okay, another yellow hand. Do you like to ask a question?
Yes, hi, Bhante. Thank you for your teachings. In some of the Buddhist tradition, when you do meditation, they encourage or they ask that you have to follow a teacher like very closely, like not just like a teacher that recognize you as a student and student and teacher's relation, but in order to reach a certain level of a higher level. But like in the Theravada tradition, like if as a lay person, if we attend the Dharma, we practice Sila, like are we on the right path, or do we need to have a teacher who recognized you as a student? And
Well, both are all right. I mean, if you have access to a teacher, and if you spend enough time with them, and you can gain a trust in them, and through their behavior observing, you see that they're kind of living their talk, so to speak, and you get benefit. The main thing is, are you getting benefit from what these teachers are saying? So having a teacher is definitely a good thing, especially in the beginning, until one perhaps attains in the first stage of entering the stream. But even all the Buddha's monks, they stayed with the Buddha up until the end. Even arahants, they love to be in the presence of the Buddha. And a teacher and all the lesser levels. So, but if you don't have that ability to have access to a teacher, then then using the Dhamma teachings and you can join a sangha, and it's good to have access to the sangha and to at least have access so you can go to once in a while if doubts come up, or somebody you can trust and talk with, or just to sit with, and to get the motivation. Because if you're trying to practice at home, sometimes the conditions aren't right, and you find yourself backsliding and finding excuses why not to sit every day. So if you have access to joining a sangha that at least meets once a week or a few times a month, and go there and discuss the Dhamma and to meditate or rekindle your practice, that's a very good thing too.
okay. Thank you, Bhante.
You're welcome. Okay, friends, I think we may bring this discussion to an end now, so we can still have enough time to get in a good meditation session. So we're going to take a few minutes break as usual, and then come back and do some deep breathing and some stretching before we sit for our meditation practice. Okay? So we'll meet you back in a few minutes. Your friends, try to stand straight. Relax your arms at the sides. Feel your feet pressing the floor. Gently close your eyes. Try to feel the outline of the standing body. At least feel the sense of the head on top, the arms and hands at the sides, the feet pressing the floor. Try to hold that feeling of the body in the mind's eye. And begin some deep, slow breathing. Try to take 2 or 3 seconds to expand your abdomen, rib cage and chest, upper chest. Feel the expansion in the upper chest. Hold the air in the lungs for 2 seconds. Then slowly breathe out, feeling the last bit of air go out of the lungs. Just take a couple more deep breaths like that, developing this mindfulness of breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we're going to combine this breathing with these movements. Do the movement while breathing in, holding the position for 2 or 3 seconds, returning to the starting point on the out breath, repeating each one 3 times. The whole time, just keep your attention focused on the body, feeling the movements, feeling the sensations generated by the stretching. So on the next in-breath, raise the arms over the head, interlock your fingers, turn the palms up, stretch the head back, straighten the arms. Look up at the back of your hands, stretch upward. And release your fingers. On the out breath, lower the arms back to your sides. Feel the sensations. And again, in breath, hands over the head, interlock the fingers, stretch up, bend backwards a little bit. Feel the arch of the lower spine. Feel the sensation. Release the fingers, out breath, arms back to the sides. And once more, in. Stretch up. So hold that upward stretch longer. Bend back a little more. Feel the sensation. Release the fingers, out breath, arms back to the sides. Close your eyes, just keep feeling the body. Try to feel the outline of the body, head on top, arms at the side. Feel the increased pulsations in your fingers and hands. Feel the clothing touching the skin of your shoulders, chest. Feel your straight legs. Feel the feet pressing the floor. Just remind yourself of standing, the present moment of the body. letting go of the past, the future. Just let your thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. Keep the mindfulness, concentration in on the body. And on the next in breath, lift up on the toes while raising the arms over the head in this way. Face your hands toward each other and stretch up. Out breath, come back down, arms to the side, heels to the floor. Feel the air go out. And again, in breath, use the in breath to help lift up the body. Blowing up a helium balloon, the body rises up. Stretch. Out breath. Once more, in. Stretch. Out. Let's close the eyes, keep feeling the body. Don't let the mind wander. Just feel your eyes in the sockets. Feel the outline of the body. Clothing touching the outer skin. Subtler life force vibrations under the skin, pulsations, tingling sensations, itchy sensations, aches or pain. Just remember standing. Now we're going to do side bending using one arm at a time. On the next in breath, raise your left arm up and keep your fingers and arms straight close to your head. And on the out breath, bend over your right side, but let the arm lay on the side of the head. In breath, lift up and keep your arms straight. Again, same side, out breath. In, out. In the out breath, lower that arm. And next in breath, raise the other arm. And same thing, 3 bends to the left side, out breath. In. Out. In. Out. In breath. The out breath, lower the arm. Close the eyes, keep feeling the whole body. Don't give the mind time to get lost in thoughts. The body's always here and now. Billions of cells vibrating, interacting, producing all these sensations. keeping this body alive. Remember standing, standing, standing. Next we'll do knee bending or the squatting. On the next in-breath, again lift up on the toes and you lift the arms up front for balance. On the out-breath, lower down, balancing on the balls of the feet. Come down in the squatting position. On the in-breath, feel the muscles in the legs pushing the body up. Up on the toes. Again, out-breath. In. Out. In. Out breath, relax. Feel the increased heartbeat, other pulsations. Close your eyes. Or feel the outline of the body. Head on top, arms at the sides, clothing touching the skin, feet pressing the floor. Should be able to feel at least all or part of those different sensations. Present moment, body-centered awareness. First stage of any deeper meditation. So if your thoughts come and go in the back of the mind, like the news or bulletins or advertisements, run across the bottom of your computer, trying to take your attention. You ignore most of them. Okay, now spread the legs apart, up to the feet. We'll do twisting from right to left. Hold the arms out at the sides. If you have difficulty holding the arms out like that, you could keep your hands on the hips, but it's better to keep the arms out. Breathe in. On the out breath, twist to the right. Keep your eyes focused on the hand going back. In breath, come back to the front. Let your feet turn with the body and then twist to the other side on the next out breath. In breath. Keep alternating sides, coordinating with the breathing. Come back to the front, lower the arms, relax. Close the eyes, feel each foot pressing the floor. Feel the clothing, trousers, touching the skin of the legs. Feel the hands and fingers. Feel the clothing touching the upper body, and the head on top. Feel the eyes and the socket. Feel the skin stretched over the front of the skull. Remember standing, feeling a little itchy, prickly sensation. This body as it is, here and now. Now we're going to do forward and backward bending. So let your hands touch the front of your legs. Keep the feet spread apart, wider the better. Breathe in. On the out breath, bend forward. Keep your head lifted up, looking out straight ahead. Let your hands come to your kneecaps the first time. Keep your arms straight. Flatten the spine, making it like a tabletop. Get the hump out of the spine, feel the stretch in the legs. In breath, lift up. And move the hands under the buttocks for support. Let your head go back. And gently bend backwards on the out breath. Look up at the ceiling. Feel the arch in the spine. In breath, carefully lift up. Be aware of any shaking. And the second time, let the hands come down below your knees. Still keep the head lifted up, legs straight. Feel the extra stretch in the back of the legs. In breath, lift up. Again, the back bends, be careful. In breath up. And the third time, let the hands come down as far as you can towards the feet. And hold that position longer, holding on to your lower legs, feet. Let the little bones in the lower spine stretch out. Feel the stretch in the hamstring muscles. Lift up on an in-breath. Once more, the back bends, be careful. In-breath. On the out-breath, just relax the shoulders. Just close the eyes. Feel the outline of the body exactly as it is. vibrations, pulsations, the activated life force. Now bring the legs and feet closer together. There's one last simple exercise, turning the head from right to left to loosen up the neck vertebrae. The neck connects the head to the lower body. It's good to keep it flexible, loose, so the energy can flow. On an in-breath, turn your head to the right as far as you comfortably can. Look over the right shoulder. On the out breath, turn the head 180 degrees back to the left. Look over the left shoulder. In breath to the right. Out breath left. Once more to each side. On the in-breath, let the head stop in the center, close the eyes, feel the whole body vibrating, pulsating with activated life force. Starting to feel or imagine as though you're standing on a vibrating machine, feeling all those vibrations from the soles of the feet up to the top of the head. Okay, so now let's come back to our seats and get ready for the sitting. Actually, can you turn that light off? Right. Let's try to get comfortable in your sitting posture. Try to keep your back straight, keep the head lifted up, level with the floor. Close your eyes, try to feel your head balanced on top of the spinal column. Just feel your eyes in the socket. From that point on the eyes, try to feel the outline of the sitting body. Then begin some deep, slow breathing again as we were doing in the yoga. I'm going to start this meditation by chanting the Namo Buddhaya. Just listen to the chanting. Just try to feel those sensations in your body and mind, relaxing the body and mind with each out breath. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Keep your attention fixed on the breathing. Just feel the breath coming back in when it's ready. Just feel the residual expanding and contracting sensation. We're going to count the breaths from 1 to 10 to develop a more continuous concentration on in the present moment of the breathing. So with the next, I'll do the counting for you. Just try to follow that with your breathing and counting. With the next expanding in breath, mentally count to 1. Hold the breath a second. On the contracting out breath, also count to 1. Feel the last bit of air go out to the lung. Next in breath, 2. Out breath, 2. In 3. Out 3. In 4. Out 4. In 5. Out 5. In 6. Out 6. In 7. Out 7. In 8. Out 8. In 9. Out 9. In 10. Out 10. Now discontinue the counting. Let your breathing return to its uncontrolled, shorter, irregular rhythm, but continue to feel it. Keep your attention focused in the center of the body. Feel the residual expanding and contracting sensation. Especially try to feel where the clothing rubs against the skin of the stomach, rib cage, or chest. It expands and contracts. Just make that the primary focus of your concentrated mindfulness. Just knowing when the breath is coming in and knowing when the breath is going out. You know it by feeling it, feeling those sensations. To help to keep the mind focused, you can make these brief reminders of in sitting, out sitting, in sitting, out sitting. The 4 phases of each breath cycle, the expanding in breath and the brief pause, the contracting out breath and the brief pause, the pauses between the breaths. Feel the outline of the sitting body. If you still have lots of thoughts, you can count the breaths from 1 to 10 again on your own to see if you can make it to 10 breaths without your mind getting lost or going to sleep. Just letting your other thoughts just come and go in the back of the mind. Just keep the breathing body in the front of the awareness, like looking down through a microscope. Just try to feel like being a scientist looking down through a microscope, observing this experiment of breathing, how this breathing keeps this body alive. Drawing fresh oxygen in on the in-breath, expelling the carbon dioxide and other air impurities on the out-breath. In, sitting. Out, sitting. Keep coming back to the present moment, this breathing body. This breathing body is the anchor to the present moment. If we lose that connection to the breathing body, the mind either goes to sleep or gets lost in the ocean of various thoughts, worries, fears, anxieties, greed, hatred, delusion. The mind has become relaxed and centered with good awareness of the breathing. Just be alert for other sensations coming and going, arising and vanishing, in and through the body awareness. Itchy, prickly sensations, body movements, internal aches or pains. Be aware of the subtle flow of thoughts moving through the back of the mind, waiting to dart in to steal your attention. And this is one of the greatnesses of the Buddha, to teach this mindfulness of the body. The only person to ever teach how we can observe our own body and mind in this detailed fashion, see the impermanence. Doctors cut it open, looking inside, but we use our mind to look inside, to feel subtle vibrations. From time to time, take a few deep, slow breaths to help hold the attention in the body. Keep the bloodstream oxygenated. In, sitting. sitting. Keep opening up to the flow of impermanence. Breathing comes and goes, so many other sensations coming and going. Thoughts, urges coming and going through the mind. It's the flow of impermanence. You can identify the aggregates, the 5 aggregates of material vibration, feeling, perception, volition, consciousness. And how quickly they arise and vanish. That scientific observation. Just know that suffering arises when we identify and cling to any of those body vibrations, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, consciousness as being I or me or mine. They're just all happening under their own power, the power of past conditioning, karmic conditioning. There's no ultimate owner or controller to the consciousness. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. So many different sensations come and go. Sounds come and go. Perceptions, thoughts come and go. Pleasure or pain come and go. Thoughts of I, me, or mine come and go. These are all just a continuous flow and change of the five aggregates of this body and mind and its process of impermanence. According to the law of accumulated karma in the past and the present, it'll go into the future. The greatness of the Buddha and the Dhamma explain this to people. Now, let's spend the last few minutes of this meditation and sending out thought vibrations of friendliness, kindness, best wishes, or metta toward our own body and mind, and radiating it outwards to all living beings, especially on this eve of Vesak, when millions of people are celebrating the life and enlightenment of the Buddha. Again, just begin to take some deep, slow breaths. You're just watching your own body and mind sitting there, understanding your life situation, the problems that you're having, or good things that are happening to you in terms of the Dhamma, practicing Dhamma. Just take a deep, slow breath and hold the air in your lungs for as long as you comfortably can, feeling that as being sending metta to your own body and mind. Just take a few deep, slow breaths like that, cultivating this mindfulness. May I be well, peaceful, and wise. May I be free from excessive greed, hatred, fear, and ignorance. May I be free from the self-created pains and sufferings of body and mind due to such unskillful thoughts, speech, and actions. May I have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. May I continue to deepen my understanding of the profound teachings of the Dhamma and the practice of meditation to free the mind from confusion and suffering. May I be well, peaceful, and wise. Try to continue taking some deep, slow breath, and with each out-breath, imagining these same thought vibrations going outward across the fields and the valleys, through the towns and cities, over the mountains, eventually across the ocean, surround the whole earth. Just imagine these vibrations of pure love, pure wisdom, pure energy, which is metta, entering the bodies and minds of all the beings, soothing the pains of their body and mind, soothing the fires of their greed, hatred, and delusions. With the idea that may all living beings, wherever they might be, the rich or the poor, the strong or the weak, famous or the obscure, may all living beings be well, happy, and peaceful, free from greed, hatred, fear, and ignorance, free from the self-created pains and sufferings of body and mind brought about by their unskillful thoughts, speech, and actions, and through the karmic interactions with others. May all beings be able to hear the mind-healing teachings of the Dhamma, the Buddha, and to learn and practice meditation to help free their minds from confusion and suffering. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. It's like a mantra reverberating throughout space. Well, peaceful, and wise. Dukkha patacani dukkha Bhaya patacani bhaya Soka patacani soka Hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. In this way, may all beings live with mindfulness and wisdom. And thus spoke the Buddha. And I invite you to join and finish the meditation and chanting the word sadhu 3 times. Slowly we do the chanting on a long out breath and taking another deep breath. Do it 3 times. Feel those vibrations in your body and mind. So take a deep breath. Breathe. Breathe. Place your hands at the edge of the knees. Take one more deep breath. You breathe in, stretch your head back, pull the hands on the knees to arch your spine. Lift up the head on out breath, press the chin to the top of the chest to stretch the neck vertebrae. Lift the chin up level on an in-breath and relax on the out-breath. Put a smile on your face. Okay, friends, so this brings our evening of Dhamma and meditation to an end, and especially tomorrow being the Vesak, full moon day. Just try to get an extra period of meditation if you can. Reinforce your motivation to keep your meditation practice going. Practice the M&Ms. Read some suttas. Reinforce your understanding of the Dhamma. So remember, mindfulness today keeps dukkha away. And Namo Buddhaya. So be well, be safe, be mindful, be wise. See you again next week, perhaps, if you tune in.
Namo Buddhaya. Thank you.
We
Okay.
will.
Thank you.
Namo
Thank you,
Buddhaya.
Bhante.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Bhante.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, Bhante.
Good night.